Gabamara gives no last words as he is about to be beheaded by his executioner. To everyone's surprise in the courtyard, the executioner's blade snaps, repeatedly striking Gabamara's neck, which stays unharmed. Gabamaru is perplexed as to why he is unable to die while having no cause to live. A female inspector questions Gabamaru, an Iwagakure shinobi born and trained as a superhuman murderer, on the other side of his cage. Gabamaru tells the inspector that she was correct in assuming that the executioner's blade was too weak to cut through his robust body, and that he didn't even need ninjutsu to prevent being beheaded. The inspector, who is intrigued by his ability to practice ninjutsu, requests that he show her but is refused. Gabamaru is later sentenced to be burned at the stake, as well as pierced with a spear beforehand. Both attempts, however, have left him unhurt because his body snapped the spear and repelled the flames. He is then returned to his cell, where he is examined by the inspector again, this time turned around because his burning clothing have exposed him. Gabamaru informs the inspector that he was not attempting to resist and proposes bringing him a change of clothes if she is not going to make eye contact with him any longer. The inspector informs him that she will continue to execute her duties even if he is naked, and she requests that he continue to describe his background to her. Despite his belief that his background is uninteresting, he agrees to her request. Gabamaru tells the inspector how his parents were murdered by his village chief for an unexplained cause when he was a baby, but he was unaffected. As a shinobi, he adds that he has no dreams because his only purpose is to kill whoever is told to. In terms of how he was apprehended, he claims that his village head ordered one of his fellow shinobi to betray him on a mission after he intended to abandon the village. The inspector then inquires as to why he desired to depart from Iwagakure. Gabamaru is sentenced to be torn apart by bulls straining at ropes connected to his feet the next day. Gabamaru, on the other hand, survives after the bulls are overpowered by the weight of his legs as a result of him instinctively clenching his feet. The magistrate is enraged by this turn of events and demands that additional bulls be brought in to try again to execute Gabamaru. The inspector approaches Gabamaru and tells him that she has noticed traces of resistance from him despite his acceptance of death. She then asks him to respond to her inquiry from yesterday about why he wants to leave Iwagakure. Gabamaru informs the inspector that he was the strongest shinobi in Iwagakure, and as a result, he was chosen by the Iwagakure chief to marry his daughter. Gabamaru describes the girl as unfit to be around since her normalcy dulls his senses as a shinobi, and he goes to his leader to remedy the problem. Gabamaru's request is granted by the Iwagakure head, but he must fulfill one more assignment for him. Gabamaru explains that although knowing he was being set up to be betrayed and imprisoned at the time, he had little choice but to be arrested because escaping would entail Iwagakure following him wherever he went. At night, the inspector goes through the streets with one of the men from the execution grounds, who is anxious about getting involved with Gabamaru, given his reputation as Gabamaru the Hollow, the cold-blooded shinobi who murdered over 20 men during his captivity. He also mentions the rumor that the shinobi of Iwagakure drank the elixir of life, Shinsenkyo's immortality elixir. Despite being warned about Gabamaru's danger, the inspector queries why the emotionless man would fight back hard enough to kill those men. While in his cell, Gabamaru recalls the inspector's previous observation of him displaying indications of resistance and believes she is correct, recalling how he stiffened his neck to survive his beheading execution. However, he is perplexed as to why he is subconsciously protecting himself from dying despite the fact that he has no purpose to live. He then resolves to let himself die during his next execution. However, Gabamaru survives the scorching flames of his boiling execution the next day and walks around perplexed as to why he is still resisting. After finishing her journal, the inspector informs the magistrate that she is prepared for her next assignment. While being led to his next death sentence by the magistrate and his men, Gabamaru moans about how exhausting their useless attempts are, but the magistrate assures him that the next death sentence would undoubtedly kill him. Gabamaru enters the room and notices the female inspector sitting in the center. The magistrate informs Gabamaru that the female inspector is Yamada Seaman Sagiri, a member of the Yamada clan, a Rin clan of highly adept sword testers and executioners. Gabamaru's bindings break from his panicked reaction after learning that she is an Seaman sent by the shogun. This prompts the magistrate to instruct Sagiri to hastily execute him, which she does by running behind Gabamaru. Gabamaru moves out of the way of her blade being brought down in time, and only sustains a slight cut on his neck, but Sagiri questions why he moved out of the way because he would have died as he desired. Gabamaru then reacts to dodging Sagiri's next attack by questioning whether he truly does not wish to die. Sagiri tells Gabamaru that he has been lying to himself about wanting to die since his attachment to life is his wife, whom he genuinely loves, after hearing his background and thoroughly analyzing him. Gabamaru reacts angrily to this news, which causes him to reflect on his fond memories of his wife, by hastily seizing a sword from one of the soldiers and clashing blades with Sagiri. Gabamaru disputes her accusations and declares himself hollow. Gabamara hears from his wife in some past memories that he is not an empty person, but he refuses to believe it because he is only accustomed to bad things. Gabamara's wife informs him that he is a compassionate guy because he was unconcerned about the scar on her face after coming in to hug him. She also tells Gabamara that, despite the fact that the people of Iwagakure are not permitted to live ordinary lives and that her father attempted to destroy her dream by marking her face, she reassures him that people's hearts don't die so easily, and comes in to kiss him on the lips after she notices him still feeling down. She cheerfully assures him that causing him to become flustered is proof that he is not empty. As he continues to clash swords with Sagiri in response to her earlier statement, Gabamara recalls begging the Iwagakure chief for permission to end his bloody life so that he may live quietly with his wife, and being detained as a result. After telling Gabamara that he can have a regular life, Sagiri pulls out an official pardon that expunges his past misdeeds, as well as receiving the shogun's protection, which could assist release him from the magistrate's office and Iwagakure. She reveals to him, however, that he can only obtain it if he travels to the underworld, specifically the legendary realm known as Shinsenki, which has lately been confirmed to exist beyond the Ryukyu kingdom. There, he must obtain the elixir of life for the shogun, a job that numerous expedition teams have failed to complete since the only thing that returned from the island was a boat with a corpse sprouting flowers, and compete with other death row criminals who are also competing for the pardon. Sagiri finds him a worthy candidate for the assignment after recognizing his skill and passionate desire to live, and informs him that his wife has cut herself off from everyone while she faithfully awaits his return, much to Gabamara's relief. Sagiri then asks Gabamara if he wants to take this offer. Hearing this, the magistrate refuses to release Gabamara, despite Sagiri's claim that it was the shogun's instruction, and orders his men to point their rifles at them if they try to resist. Gabamara sheds a tear thinking back to his wife's previous statement about how people's hearts don't die so easily, and honors Sagiri's request by utilizing ninpetchi to roast the guys with the flames emanating from his body. Sagiri tells Gabamara that his ninjutsu was impressive to behold while holding her blade close to the magistrate's neck. Gabamara informs Sagiri that he has accepted the task to obtain the elixir of life and inquires about the next steps for him. Gabamara protests about not traveling immediately to the island after learning that he will have to accompany her to Edo, but his mood changes as Sagiri almost cancels the offer, informing her that he will face anything that comes his way in order to see his wife again.